Welcome into the Locked On Knicks podcast, live together and in person for the first time in our 5 years. Unfortunately, in enemy territory at the Barclays Center NBA draft, but none of that matters. What matters, OG Anunoby's the Knick for the next 4 seasons.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey guys, welcome in to Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. We wanted to thank you for making Locked On Knicks your first listen today and every day, because we are now available on all platforms. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notifications bell on YouTube if you want to become an everydayer, and then be sure to do the same on your favorite podcast platform of choice so you never miss an episode on the go. But who's talking to you for the first time ever in person? I'm Gavin, Schall, your favorite play-by-play broadcaster's favorite play-by-play broadcaster. He is Alex Wolfe, editor-in-chief of The Strickland, the greatest Knicks website in the whole wide world. You can check them out on all forms of social media at thestrick.land. And if you can hear behind us, we are at the NBA draft. We have infiltrated the Barclays Center. Little do they know that we are Knicks agents, and we are here to celebrate stealing their best player, and then to top it off, getting OG Anunoby to agree to a 5-year, $212.5 million contract with a player option, Alex. It wasn't necessarily what we dreamed of. We didn't get that $30 or $35 million year number we wanted. Instead, it's $43 million this season, but it is not his max. He could have gotten 5 years, nearly $250 million, and it's just more than any other team in the NBA could give him, and apparently that was a fair deal for both sides.
Yeah, and the good thing too is that that with the way the salaries work with bird rights and all that, he's going to get 8% raises year over year. So this might actually kind of help them out from the perspective of the luxury tax situation we've been talking about this year, whatever. I've seen numbers that say, like our buddy Jeremy Cohen from Knicks Film School said that it might be, I think, starting at $36 million or something like that, which would be very helpful to the Knicks. Maybe puts them in a situation where if they can doctor up this Mikal Bridges deal and get to the point where they are not hard capped at the first apron, but then they could still retain Isaiah Hartenstein as well. So works out pretty good for both sides. He's going to be making a lot of money by the end. Like, we know that. It's going to be upwards of like $50 million to that final player option. And, given his injury history and everything, maybe a little bit of a tough pill to swallow there 5 years down the line. But who really cares? I mean, right now we're looking at a potential title contender, so I don't really see any downside to this for the Knicks. This is what you had to do. If that was his price, that was his price. And, you just go with it and then go into the season, try to win a championship. And if you do that, nothing matters. Like we said last night, and everything is great. So this is step one towards hopefully getting towards maybe a championship.
I think when the trade was made, the Knicks had a number in mind, and this probably was not the number Leon Rose and Sam Rose talked about over Christmas dinner, right? And then the Knicks went 26-5. I'm not counting Game 7 because OG played 5 minutes. 26-5, including 2 rounds of playoff basketball with Anunoby in the lineup. He is a supercharger to this Knicks team, right? We spent this entire early portion of last season talking about how they were a team that lacked size, lacked physicality, did not have a clear-cut, dominant perimeter stopper. All that went away the second they got OG Anunoby. The New York Knicks became the bully. They became, even last season, sans Mikal Bridges, a legitimate NBA championship contender. And if Julius Randle stayed healthy, if Anunoby stayed healthy, who knows? We might be talking about the NBA champions right now. Given that they didn't, we went out, we got Mikal Bridges, and now going forward, you have 2 of the best defenders in basketball, both on the perimeter. You have an incredible amount of defensive versatility. I think maybe the single biggest thing going forward is the notion that if you lose Isaiah Hartenstein, you have that tertiary rim protection, right? Mikal Bridges, one of the longest wingspans in basketball. OG Anunoby proved himself to be the best shot-blocking small forward in basketball during this NBA playoff run. I think the versatility that those 2 bring to the table, the at-the-rim leverage they bring at the table is major, and same with the rim pressure Anunoby applies. On the other end, he is just a picture-perfect fit around Jalen Brunson. And if you're the Knicks, you can look in the mirror and say, hey, we have a top-5 player with incredible strengths and very specific weaknesses. We've done everything possible to insulate those weaknesses.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, no matter what, whether you lose Isaiah Hartenstein or you don't, you're going to have a defensive anchor at center, meaning you're going to have 3 plus defensive players. Now, maybe if you end up having to just quote-unquote revert back to Mitchell Robinson, oh, woe is the Knicks, going back to one of the best defensive centers of basketball, one of the best rebounders of basketball, then maybe you're looking at a situation where it's like, oh, well, maybe the offensive viability of some of these lineups takes a hit. But to your point, OG Anunoby is so good with rim protection that, it's like, okay, well now if you're pushing him into that role and keeping Julius Randle out there for the rebound, so you're not going to lose the rebounding battle, now you have someone else to still guard the other team's best wing in Mikal Bridges, and you have a Josh Hart that you can throw out there for rebounds and for above average defense. Again, like you said, insulating Jalen Brunson against all possible options and letting him just be the best player that he can be, ball hawk a little bit, get some steals, do that kind of thing. I think they're in really good shape, and like this, again, it's just, if last time was step 1, this is step 2. Step 3, hopefully figure out this luxury tax situation, retain Isaiah Hartenstein, and then maybe the Knicks can just run this back, plus one of the best two-way players in the NBA, one of the most coveted players in the NBA, going into this offseason and make some magic happen. I don't know.
The Knicks are a dream team of role players. These past 3 seasons, there were no 2 players without All-NBA berths to their name that were more coveted than Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. I mean, we heard about it on the Raptors side of things, the Nets side of things. 4 first-round picks turned down at different points for both those players. They are now both New York Knicks. They are both there to protect Jalen Brunson. They are both there to fly out to the perimeter and close out on shooters. And they are both fantastic three-point shooters. And look, there's still a lot of ways this can go for the New York Knicks. Like, there are questions about that starting lineup and how much shooting they're going to be able to get on the floor if they aren't able to start Dante DiVincenzo, but they can get to lineups that can essentially do everything. The flexibility of this team, the ceiling of this team is just incredibly exciting. And Alex, I think it's fitting. We've been doing this over 5 years now, almost 6 years now, and we went from our initial discussions were, could Kevin Knox be an all-star one day? And now the first time we do this in person, we're talking, hey, this team might legitimately be a championship contender, and no one can say we're being homers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think that we're kind of in a spot now, too, where we're going to get to cover the first team with a legitimate title aspiration, which is pretty exciting as well. So it's exciting for everybody that's ever been a Knicks fan, that's ever covered the Knicks, that's ever dealt with this team. And to be clear, we dealt with them for a number of years. It was not the most fun job in the world trying to find the diamond in the rough amongst Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina, Alonzo Trier,
Damian
Dotson, and all these guys. So, yeah, I mean, it's feeling pretty good today. But now, of course, we're at the NBA draft as well. So maybe we can take a quick break, come back, talk about if we think this affects the Knicks draft strategy at all. And maybe just since we're doing this, and we're going to throw this up probably right around when the draft is starting anyway, maybe just give an idea of what we think the Knicks might do tonight, and how this trade might affect things. So we'll do that in just a second. But first, we got to remind you guys that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And, I suggested last night, hopefully you listen to me. You could have been at the draft, you know what I'm saying? But it's probably a little too late. Maybe you're listening to this while the draft's still going on, though, and pick 24 and 25 aren't up. So if you are, check it out, because you can get last-minute deals, and you can do it once the doors have already opened and once events have already started. You can get last-minute lightning deals, flash deals, all kinds of great stuff off the Game Time app. And the best part is we can even get you a discount for that. So that would be pretty cool. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, and we're back in. OG Anunoby, officially a Knick for at least 4 more seasons, possibly 5 if he picks up a 5th-year option. It's going to be presumably the highest paid player on the team pending Julius Randle's extension, because if the rumors are true, Jalen Brunson might actually be making less than OG Anunoby this coming season, which is kind of crazy to think about. But Gavin, I couldn't help but think, do you think this, and some people might be listening to this by this point after the draft anyway, because we're putting out a lot of episodes. We're going to try to get this up during draft time here since it's breaking news. Do you think this maybe affects what the Knicks do at all in this draft? And are there any things that you're thinking might be an omen towards the Isaiah Hartenstein situation or anything like that in this draft? I feel like there's only one option. I kind of teed you up there.
Yeah, I think the Knicks knew Anunoby's been coming back for at least a week now. That's why they pulled the trigger on the Mikal Bridges trade. That's why this was finalized. I would be shocked if they don't take a center in this draft. At this point, it doesn't really seem like there's a conceivable scenario where all three of Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, and Isaiah Hartenstein are on the team next year. So you have to take someone like Deron Holmes would kind of be a nice flip piece where he can play the 4. He's a good enough shooter. He can play the 5 as kind of a small ball 5 if you need to. Kel'el Ware would be excellent. I would love for the Knicks to have the opportunity to have a change-up in this draft. And look, like we didn't talk about this a lot last segment, OG Anunoby might be that change-up, right? He might be that small ball 5 with his ability to shoot the ball, with his ability to protect the rim on the other end. We saw that in Game 4 against the Sixers. He's obviously capable of doing that, but I would be shocked, Alex, if they don't come away, whether it's a big like that or someone more like Missy out of Baylor, who is a little bit more of a traditional rim run big, protect the rim big, or even Zach Edey if the Knicks trade up in this draft.
Yeah, I think the trade up to get a big is sort of the most surefire sign to me that they're probably ready to move on from Hartenstein. So, maybe by the time people are listening to this, maybe that's already happened or maybe it hasn't. But I will say I think that if that does happen, I hate to say it, but I think Isaiah Hartenstein's probably out. Like, I don't think that you burn your assets and move up, especially when we're seeing how tight the margins are going to be with trying to fill out this roster. If they do get hard capped to either the first or the second apron, where if you're giving up the opportunity to have 3 cost-controlled players on your team that way, then I don't necessarily like the chances of Isaiah Hartenstein staying if they're giving up that to move up and get a center. So I think we're going to learn a lot here in the next couple hours over the NBA draft about where the Knicks stand with Isaiah Hartenstein. But in the end, it's good to know at least where they stand with OG Anunoby, and they do have, I think, some backup plans. I don't think Precious Achiuwa's amount that he will cost to retain will be that high. So they might be able to bring him back for maybe half of what Isaiah Hartenstein would come back for, and then build the roster out from there. Maybe draft a center at 24 or 25, or even move up, draft another center, and then re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein, which could be a good move Precious Achiuwa instead of Isaiah Hartenstein, which could be a good move as well. But I think we're probably about ready to wrap up here anyway. If you can't notice, lots of lights going on. It's about to be draft time, so we're about to have a lot more to talk about potentially. So unless you had anything else to add, I think we can wrap this little mini episode up and get ready for some big episodes the rest of the night.
Now let's call. We're about to find out who's going to be the number 1 pick. The New York Knicks don't have to worry about that anymore. We're a real team now. For Alex Wolfe and Gavin, Schall, we'll talk to you soon on Locked On Knicks.